According to Sean Gibbons, who's a matchmaker for Manny Pacquiao's promotional company, Manny Pacquiao wants to fight Errol Spence Jr. next in 2021. These comments come in post Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia, which was a fight that Errol Spence Jr. cruised to victory in. Now, being real, we're all going to want to watch Manny Pacquiao fight either Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford whenever that happens. Hopefully that can happen within the next year. But the Terence Crawford fight looks less likely than the Pacquiao-Errol Spence fight. So I think from Pacquiao's perspective, he's thinking about getting a good last payday and passing the torch onto the future pound for pound king, whether that be Terence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. Because I mean, Manny Pacquiao, there's still questions. Even at his age, he's 41 now. Could he compete with these guys at welterweight? Could he compete with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr.? I mean, in my opinion, Terence Crawford might be just a little bit too big, a little bit too prime, a little bit too athletically superior to Manny Pacquiao for Pacquiao to be able to get a victory in that fight. But I mean, Errol Spence Jr. is fresh as well, but is he as skillful as Terence Crawford? That's the question that I think needs to be asked, and I think we obviously need to see the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight to find out the answer to that question. Some people are saying that Errol Spence has this master plan where he wants to fight Manny Pacquiao next and then pick up the WBA belt, which Manny Pacquiao currently holds, and then fight Terence Crawford for undisputed. And I think that could be plausible, but I don't know where the ideas came from. Has Errol Spence Jr. come out and said this? I haven't seen any quotes saying such things. And to me, that's just more excuses to try and duck Terence Crawford. Whether you think Errol Spence Jr. is ducking or not, the PBC fighters clearly don't want to fight Terence Crawford for whatever reason. I think whoever Manny Pacquiao fights next, whether it be Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford, he will lose those fights because he is just not physically able to compete on the same levels as these guys. These guys are the elite of the elite in their weight divisions. And Manny Pacquiao is, if you can just break it down to the fact that he's a 41-year-old man. He's way past his prime. Pacquiao is 8, 9, 10 years past his prime at this point. So, I'd be picking Errol Spence Jr. and or Terence Crawford to defeat Manny Pacquiao ultimately if they do fight. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would Manny Pacquiao, I think he would be the underdog against Errol Spence and Terence Crawford by the bookie standards. But do you think he could cause an upset? Because in my eyes, it would be an upset if Manny Pacquiao could defeat either Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you did enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and make sure to click the post notification bell to be notified whenever I upload.